I'm Drew Breezy, and this is the Comm Center. Coming up, an unfortunate case out of rural Ohio that you won't want to miss. It has intrigue, money, and the other true crime word that starts with M, and possibly somebody from Canada. John, the actual 911 dispatcher, is going to lean into his expertise as we unleash the 911 call on him for the first time.
Who did she shoot?
Well, I've been threatened all morning.
Did you shoot her?
Yes, I did.
And I'll pour some knowledge into that stew while we break down the body cam from a crime scene perspective. Someone has already dialed M.
An idiot can operate it, and indeed many do.
So you'll be forced to dial 911. A. We'll cover the case from A to Z. All that and what it means for your weekend on the Comm Center.
Drew, we've got a case out of Ohio, the Buckeye State. Some people say a poor man's Michigan. I found this case online, and then you did all the hard work, as you have been doing all summer long. I have not heard the 911 calls on this case. I've gotten kind of the broad brushstrokes on this, but this case intrigues me as a 911 dispatcher, and it better intrigue everyone else too. But fraud right now, so common, so boring to talk about. Luckily, this is a supersized fraud where we get so much more going on, I think, as you implied in that clever intro. Why don't you take us to the case?
Columbus Uber driver was shot and killed by a homeowner in Clark County, both victims of a scam. Before we show you this video, we want to warn you, it could be hard to watch. We are only going to show the moments before, not the actual shooting. The Clark County Sheriff's Office sent us this video from Loletha Hall's car's dash cam. The Sheriff's Office says the Uber driver was requested through the Uber app to pick up a package at this house near Springfield. The video taken on March 25th, you can see Hall walk in front of her car holding her phone and glasses in her left hand. Moments later, the dash cam shows Hall backing away from the 81-year-old William Brock, who lived at that home. Brock follows her to her car, pointing a gun at her the entire time. Authorities say Brock took Hall's cell phone and refused to let her leave. When she tried to get back in her car, that's when investigators say Brock shot her. Deputies say Hall was unarmed and made no threats towards Brock. The Sheriff's Office says earlier that day a scammer called Brock and told him one of his relatives was in jail and needed money to post bail. The call turned into threats and a demand for money. The same caller then told Hall to pick up a package at Brock's house. Brock is charged with murder tonight.
911, what is the location of your emergency?
South Charleston, Clifton Road.
You can hear poor Loletha, who by all accounts was like this.
Oh, she was great. She was like known for like her baked goods. She was like that class of person.
Yeah, very sweet, very lovely, lovely woman.
To South Charleston, Clifton Road?
Yes, I need the sheriff and an ambulance real quick out here. There's been a shooting.
A shooting? Who shot?
Some black woman come to the house here.
Who did she shoot?
Well, I've been threatened all morning.
Okay, where did the black woman go?
She's laying here on the driveway.
Did you shoot her?
Yes, I did.
Okay. She's laying in the driveway?
Yeah.
Okay.
She's bleeding some. And
okay, where did you shoot her at?
well, I shot her in the leg the first time, and I shot her in the shoulder.
Okay, so you shot her in the leg and the shoulder?
Yes.
Why did you do that?
Because I was threatened that she was going to come and kill me.
She threatened to kill you?
No, it's the guy on the phone that's been trying to get money out of me.
Okay, do you know who the male is?
That's an actual crime. These are actual crime scene photos, John.
His name?
That was his house phone. I included that phone. In other subsequent photos, you can actually see the number that called him. But I included that because when was the last time you saw a house phone? I mean, maybe you have seen a house phone recently. I haven't. It's been forever for me.
But Joseph somebody.
A Joseph?
If that may not be his right name.
So there's the envelope sitting right on his next to his cornflakes.
Okay.
Let's just get the sheriff out here and
we got him dispatched. I want to stay on the line with you, okay?
that's fine.
It's like $12,000 in cash, something like that.
Okay. What's your name?
I'm Bill Brock.
Bill Brock.
That's the house phone, yes.
Okay. Is anybody else with her out there?
No.
Okay, so she's by herself?
And I'm by myself too.
Okay. Is that her in the background?
Yes.
Okay. 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 You don't know her other than she was making threats?
I've never seen her before.
Okay. 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 Did she come and knock on your door? Tell me what happened.
There's a guy on the phone center here.
Okay.
Joe.
So the male on the phone was trying to get money from you, and she was knocking on the door at the same time?
Yes.
Okay.
And he was telling me he was going to kill me and the family and everybody else around me.
Money, okay. And he said he was going to kill you and the family?
Yeah.
Okay.
And he thought he'd be on his way here now. He claimed he was in Springfield, but
Okay, the male said he was in the Springfield?
I don't believe it.
Okay. Okay, tell her we got the medics coming.
Well,
Okay, tell her we got the medics coming, okay? We got medic and the police department coming. They're coming full force.
well, get him here quick, because I'm not comfortable being outside here, because
Okay.
they said they had us running over us. And
Okay, listen to me. Did she come in a vehicle or is she on foot?
no, she came in a vehicle.
Okay, she did. She came in a vehicle?
Yes.
What kind of vehicle was she in?
It's a black Acura Honda.
A black Honda Acura?
Yes.
Okay.
Is it not a black Acura?
It's a Buick Oldsmobile, Drew.
Right. I think it's a Chevy car.
Can you give me the plate on that vehicle, please?
Just a minute.
Okay, where did you put the gun?
I've got it right here in my hand.
Okay, I need you to put the gun down before the officers and the medics get there. I need you to put it up somewhere.
I will. The license plate is
184. Okay.
a Franklin County sticker on it.
Franklin County?
Yes.
Okay. It's an old man that shot the lady.
Just lay back.
It's an old man
They're coming.
that shot the lady.
They're coming to help you.
The caller is the shooter. The caller is the shooter that I have on the line. The caller is the shooter that I have on line.
Mute her. Use your mute button.
Hear the female scream.
Yeah, say that. That's an important point. Say it again.
The 911 dispatcher is taking the call and dispatching at the same time. She's trying to make it clear to police who have, I'm sure, are going code 3, lights and sirens. They want to know who at the scene they're talking to. Are they talking to who's the 911 dispatcher talking to the victim or what? Because this case is bizarre. In terms of everything that has happened so far. We'll do a full breakdown, but she needs to be hitting the mute button because you can hear her. She's clearly trying to key up on the radio saying the caller is this old man that shot this woman in the street. And of course she's saying it to the guy, the caller. I mean, it doesn't really affect anything because he's reporting on himself and appears to be fairly cooperative, but you generally want to hit mute for that.
Definitely.
And in the background, help me. He told me that he shot her in the leg and in the arm.
Max 778, go ahead.
All right.
It's also kind of confusing, especially like I'm not being critical of the dispatcher, but the mute button is important at times, and this could be kind of confusing to the caller. Like you're giving instructions to somebody else, or you're communicating with whoever's on the radio, and the caller doesn't know what you're asking or saying. You know what I mean? Because in the fog of war, like the term we use all the time, it could just be a little bit confusing.
Sir,
Ambulance on standby.
did you put the gun up? I need you to put the gun up before they arrive, okay?
And if you would also park.
Yes.
Okay, put the gun up for me. Put it inside the house or something, okay?
Yes. She's not going anywhere.
Okay, okay. How bad is she bleeding?
I don't know. That's
Okay,
where
where are you putting the gun at so I can let the officers know?
I'll put it right inside the house.
Okay, is it right inside the door?
Yes, on a little shelf to the left of the door.
All right, sir. All right, sir. Rhonda, the gun is inside the house on the shelf. All right, sir. I think they're coming, okay?
Fine.
All right. Did you put it up for me?
Yes.
Yes, I put it right next to the evidence marker.
Yeah. I like how she wants him to put it somewhere where it's clearly not accessible. That's the idea, is that when the cops show up, ideally you would want him to have his hands up, not reaching for anything. He's just like, I put it down on a table where I could lunge for it at any time.
But how many? Yeah, right. Because John, how many did we cover that?
I know.
The people didn't.
It's just
people that
frustrating
bring it
because
inside, you know, or they had it in their hands and they're like, no, it's cool. I'm the one that called.
yeah, I mean, in a sense, he doesn't, really pose a threat to the police because he's calling for help, but you don't want to think it doesn't seem like an ambush thing. Doesn't even really seems suspicious. I mean, I believe the caller, everything he's telling me, because it's also tragic. It's stupid. I can't help but believe it. Drew.
Okay, go back outside with the officers and the medics, okay?
So if you'll notice too, John, that was what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It was an 8-shot. There are 7 spent cartridges that they pulled out of there. There's only 1 bullet left. So
he's a terrible shot because he hit her twice, right in the what, leg and arm?
no, I don't know. Did he already say where he shot her? Because if not, that's coming up. But
the dispatcher did say that she was shot at least 2 places in extremities, is what I heard.
Okay, yeah, the body cam will tell you a little bit differently.
Okay.
We'll get to that.
When you go out, make sure your hands are up, okay?
All right.
Okay. Do you see him yet?
I think I hear him.
Okay. Yep, I hear him too, okay?
I think
All right, William.
the ambulance is here.
The ambulance? Okay, I'll stay on the line with you until the deputies get there, okay?
Yeah, it's the deputies in here.
The deputies are there?
No, they're not here yet, but
Just the medic?
just the medic.
Okay. The medic is... okay, and you said you hit her in the leg and the shoulder, right?
Yeah, I think it was the shoulder. She got a big sweatshirt on. I can't really tell.
Okay, okay. Are they out of the ambulance yet, or are they still there? Are they still waiting?
Yeah, the paramedic, I shot her.
Shot her? What happened to you?
She busted my head on the door.
You know her?
No.
All right, William, I'm going to let you go, okay?
Okay.
All right, since the medics are there, I'm going to let you go.
All right.
All right, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
All right, what do we think so far, John?
Well, first of all, that's a really solid goodbye, just really saying goodbye multiple times.
No, you hang up.
You hang up. I'm so frustrated by this call. I mean, it's just everything. The reason why I wanted to cover it, because I know that just none of this had to happen. Dispatcher did a great job making sure the gun gets put away. That's pretty critical. Getting the license plate of the person outside helps us because then we can identify the potential victim right away if she's the registered owner of the vehicle. We know better who we're dealing with. Are we actually dealing with someone who's dangerous, someone who's wanted? Or are we dealing with just a lady, like I said, who's known for making a really good baked goods? It's really frustrating without at risk of skipping ahead, because if he's going to dial 911 anyway, what the hell didn't he dial 911 hours ago when he's getting threatened? Drew?
Yeah, it's sad. I think that'll come out too, and is kind of in the interviews with his body cam of why he didn't do that. But I think he felt like he was in between a rock and a hard place, like he was being manipulated by this. Basically, it's the old hostage scam. Like, I got your nephew right here. I'm going to torture him if you call the police or whatever. So, and he definitely, like, I didn't show the whole video that you can find on YouTube of her dash cam, her, being a Uber driver. She had her own, setup recording, and she's pleading with him, like, please.
She
please.
gets chased around in more than one circle of that vehicle. He follows her around at gunpoint.
Yeah. He follows her around at gunpoint, and he's not going to let her escape because he thinks that she's part of it. He literally, he was told that she was part of it, and that, this was kind of like, who do you work for kind of thing. It's just a very, very, very unfortunate situation.
I will say that, it's troubling to me as a 911 dispatcher because we deal with these people who compromise their own accounts, that it seems like it doesn't take much. I will grant that there's a third party somewhere out there who is involved in this and psychologically conditioned this guy all day long to be fight or flight. It's back to his fault for not hanging up the phone and calling authorities there in Springfield. But I get that his pump was definitely primed to to go full Vietnam on this poor woman in the park in the driveway.
Yeah, I think that's mostly it. He's probably a Korean War vet, but I mean, like, I think that's mainly it. I think that it's I saw another news report where another Uber driver was threatened, like, hey, why don't you get out of the car? Why don't you get out of the car? It was another scam just like this one. It was bizarre. It was like almost identical, except there was a different outcome. But I think part of the grift, part of the scam is that he said to call you because he can't let his parents know or something to that effect, which automatically limits who the grandfather can call. You know what I mean? Or the great
Right.
uncle or the uncle, or it's very people are shitty. Like I don't. This is probably the lowest form of scam.
What I tell callers, because they often call me, and I'll explain to them, like, if your account was compromised, let your bank know, let your credit accounts know. You're going to want to let Equifax and all those other agencies know that your credit's been compromised. But they're usually looking for some form of empathy, because they're like, well, what do I do now? And you can tell them directions, but it's just like, unfortunately, this is how these people make a living, and they only have to be successful 1% of the time for it to be totally worthwhile for them. They basically play the lottery for a living, a controlled lottery, where they get to, really manipulate someone until that person hangs up or whatever, then they just move on. And the pisser is people always want to know. They always say to me, well, do you want the phone number? And I'm always just like, no. I mean, the phone number's been spoofed. It's a VoIP, something, even my phone number that I used to talk to people on the show. I went to Google and they gave it to me. I mean, it's a made up number. And, it's this guy who's pulling people's strings in Ohio and setting them up to murder each other in almost a Hitchcockian movie. Are they in Canada, like we believe that they might be? Or are they like South America or South Africa, or who knows? And we people that called, want their local government to respond. And how do I tell them, like, listen, we're just a small rural 911 sheriff's department and pizza delivery agency. We can't investigate international intrigue, and then you tell them to call the FBI. And I think once people feel like, oh my gosh, my case needs to be reported to the FBI, they feel like it's impossible. And they don't even know how to contact the FBI. And what's worse is, so these people now don't feel any comfort at all, like divulging any information. And you're like, go jump on the internet and go tell the internet crimes people on the FBI's website. Go to fbi.gov/internet crimes or whatever it is. And
Yeah,
should they feel great about that?
I like a long time ago, my mom was trying to tell her, like to call the FBI or even the Internet Crime Center. She's like, aren't they busy with like jewel thieves or
aren't they busy ignoring Hunter Biden's cocaine?
Yeah, basically. They've got better things to do. So you've got the siren going. You're mashing on the gas. You got to have a hand free for the steering wheel. You've got your phone in your hand, and the whole time you're hearing a little soft female computer voice saying, "Call has been updated. Call has been updated." Because just beyond his right hand, where that cell phone is his MDT. That's where his laptop sits. Now, don't forget, you still have to tend to whatever's on that radio, and you're still going to have to answer them. So there's a lot going on.
And you want your gun out by the time you're ready to fling the door open.
Yeah. Well, maybe. I mean, it just depends. I mean, the whole time you're playing out the scenario of what you're going to do when you get there, because that's not the first time you want to think of what you're going to do when you arrive. You want to kind of pre-plan, right? And
if I'm rescuing a shooting victim, I want the gun in my hand.
Yeah.
I'm not a cop. I just do whatever I want. I'm just saying that's what good old John would do.
A quarter mile away, you're probably undoing your seatbelt. There's just
I'm shooting through the windshield in the driveway in all directions.
People just there are a lot of things that people don't think about. So the next time you hear like An electrician is the most dangerous job in America. Like cops aren't even the most dangerous job. And okay, well, electricians aren't driving around for 12 hours out of their shift. First of all, doing stuff like this, having to respond in emergency status, trying to do, and on top of that, when they get there, the people that are out of electricity aren't shooting electricity at them. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, okay, statistically speaking, maybe if there's only 500 electricians, you know, just arbitrary numbers. If there's 500 electricians in a county and 10 were electrocuted, that's, you know, 0.5%.
It's still apples to oranges. You're still like comparing like shark attacks to falling over the side of a cliff while taking a selfie. It's like it doesn't really matter. So.
There was an article, I think in the Washington Post. It was this guy, I think his name was Robert Klemko, who asserted that same argument, the dumb argument about, like, you know, it's more dangerous to be a chef. You know, like, okay, it's dangerous to be a chef. Yeah, I get it. You might burn yourself. Like more people are killed as cab driver. You know, okay, yeah, right. It's not dangerous to be a cop at all. I get it.
It completely takes all context. It's just like out of all life on Earth, you know, this and this and this is more likely to happen. And it's just like, well, I think we all. I think anyone who's intellectually honest and doesn't want to warp a statistic to push a radically pro-electrician view is that we all know that police officers' jobs are dangerous.
Yeah, I would just say that, you know, like per capita, there are more assholes in the media than any other profession. The other reason I kept that in is because of his demeanor. He just like, yeah, he's like, it's just another day, it's just another shooting. There's a point on his body cam where he takes a phone call, which I cut out, but he's like, no, that was a shooting last night. No, yeah, I got a few details on it. Yeah, listen, I got my plate full right now. Can I call you back? And like this guy's blood pressure never really raised above 120/80. I have a lot of respect for this guy.
That's the amazing thing about police officers, right? Like we watch this footage, we see him hammering the gas on this Ford and the siren, and everything's very, very exciting. This guy is just, yeah, like you said, 120/80. This is just another day in the life of a police officer.
Yeah, that is in my opinion, the skill that is probably most underdeveloped.
And if you get on the radio and you get keyed up and people can hear your voice that you're aroused or whatever, for lack of a better word, you're not going to be a cop long. When you're getting into pursuits or when you're in dangerous situations, if they can hear in your voice that you're scared or anxious or anything like that, it's not going to work out for you. They want you to be calm on the radio. They want to hear that you're squared away, even in situations like these. This is what makes you a cop and not just some pretender. Drew,
there are times that you're going to be an octave or two higher because that, you know, you're losing oxygen just by the adrenaline that's coursing through your body, like I talk about.
You get excused if you're in a gunfight and things like that. Yeah,
but that is the point of a great dispatcher. It could be because a great dispatcher can. There are times when, you know, there is somebody that just keyed up on the radio and you can barely hear faintly what they're saying, and they know exactly who it is. Now, this I'm talking about before, you know, there were these monitors that tracked everybody's, you know, the mics and stuff, but or their radios that can identify them by radio. But there are times when somebody gets on the radio and you can hear the elevation in their voice, and you're like, something's going on there. Let me get over there. Like you kind of know. As a cop, you develop that instinct. I think I developed it first or more as a dispatcher, and that's what made me a good dispatcher on the radio, because I could tell when somebody's like in a little bit of an elevated state. Getting to know somebody's voice, or, you know, the 20 or 30 people that are out there, or the 5 people or whatever it is, just getting to know voices, it's going to help you immensely as a dispatcher.
Clear. We're a minute out, Jake.
Okay. Come here. You all right?
All right, so if you'll notice, he's confronting the old man, the shooter. The old man had his hands raised up, like Cornholio. And he's just like, hey, you're all right. Come here. Just like, don't get that guy excited. Don't you be excited. Just handle it. And he's doing a great job. He knows his backup is about a minute away, as you heard over the radio, which I'm not a fan of. I appreciate her letting him know, but I'm not.
Was that on a discreet channel though? Because they said Jake, so I wonder if maybe that was a discreet channel.
It could be, or that they're just that familiar with one another. You know what I mean? Meaning, maybe there's only 3 of them working that day, so you don't.
You're right. Yeah, I sometimes I hear first names on the radios in places that look just like this. Do we see another officer already tending to the victim there in the driveway?
It might be a volunteer, something or other, but.
Stay about 1 second. Are you the shooter?
Yes.
Okay, I'm gonna pat you down, okay?
Yeah.
I'm just going to hang on to that. Yeah, I'm gonna hang on to that too. I'm gonna have you sit in my car, okay?
Yeah.
So the house phone's going off. He's grabbing his cell phone. You got the roar of the engine going on, of the ambulance engine.
I'd like to.
74 log. I have the man to be secured in my car. Not yet. Just let us figure it out, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna have you sit on this passenger side over here.
47 on scene.
Glad to see you.
Yeah. I'll have that squad check you out here in just a second, okay?
Squad is an ambulance.
Okay. Just have a seat right here for now, but.
Yeah, squad is an ambulance. Thank you, John.
But okay.
You can see he's got stuff coming from his left ear there, red stuff.
Yep.
Where's the gun at?
In the back door on a little stand there to the left of the door.
Okay.
22 pistol.
Okay. All right. Just have a seat.
All right, so if you'll notice, he conducted a quick cursory pat down, akin to a Terry stop. It's just like, it's a pat down. You know that there are weapons involved in this. He's the one that called and told you there was a weapon involved in this.
He needs to do it for his own safety, but also you've already, despite the fact that this is a shooting, you've already got the Madison Township ambulance is already on scene tending to her, which ideally I would say staged, just because this is a shooting. But this guy's so cooperative, and he did explain himself fairly well over the phone. This is just in any other like situation in which this. How do I phrase this? A like situation, but in which the circumstances are different, right? Like a shooting in a driveway anywhere else, it could be very, very tense and very, very unknown. But this guy has called. He's been very forthright. He's been saying what's going on, that he's been threatened and all this. Gave a lot of information to the dispatcher, willingly complying. We've seen a lot of calls that are similar to this that seem to go in a completely other direction. But yeah, he's got to pat him down also just to put him in the back of the car. The last thing you want is someone going in the back of your car and they've got a razor blade or a gun or something. Yeah. Even a cell phone going into the back of the car could be bad. So you have to pat him down before you put him in there. Drew.
Yeah, you don't want him to call anybody at the moment, but he just patted him down, a cursory pat down. You'll see he's going to go get some gloves out of the back of his car. He'll do a full search in a second. All right, he's going to pull him out here in a second and just kind of search him, but note what the old man says, and just take particular note that nobody ever asks this guy anything, really.
What's your first name, sir?
Bill. William.
William? Okay. Hey, I'm going to pat you down real good, so can you step out here real quick and I'll just pat you down again?
Okay.
They got a squad coming for you, okay?
I figured that.
Well, you're bleeding pretty good here. from your ear, okay?
Yeah.
So just hang tight, all right? Just make sure you know. Is that a lighter in there?
Oh,
A pocket knife or something? Do
keys.
you care if I reach in there? Oh, okay. You can keep that on you. You can keep that on you.
I got a key in.
Yep, you can keep all that stuff, bud.
Key in this one.
You can keep all those in there.
That's all I've got on me except a hanky.
Yep, no problem. Can you just face the car real quick?
47, what's the left light?
We'll check.
All right. You're not under arrest, okay? You're just being detained in the car for now, okay?
47,
And like I said, there's a squad coming to check you, okay?
Yeah.
So just give us a few.
I'm sure glad to see you guys out here because I've been on this phone for a couple hours with this guy trying to say we had a nephew in jail and had a wreck in Charleston and just kept hanging on and needing bond money, and this woman was supposed to. Yeah, figured it.
All right.
I kept getting different names and different stories out of him.
So we're gonna have you. Are you injured anywhere?
Just
74. Wait for a plate.
Go ahead.
Go for it.
Guy already gave the dispatcher the plate.
Yeah, I think that they're verifying though that they have the right.
I guess it's just always something that bugs me when it's like because it would be in your call details on your MDT. I get that he hasn't had a chance to look though. I also didn't love that pat down, to be honest with you, but I was patting down people in prison, so I always shook people real hard.
I'll tell you from experience, like most of my friends had come from the jail environment before they came out to the street. I didn't. I came from the Comm Center. The jail people that I worked with and knew and were close to were the absolute best searchers in the entire world. They would find stuff like you wouldn't believe that there's no, and on top of that, because there's a ew, brother, ew factor, because you don't want to get your hands like all, you know.
Oh, I'm getting in there. I'm getting there. I would. You reach around with thumbs on the inside of the waistband. You lift up the cuffs. You look inside the boots. I mean, if he was really worried about him having a pocket knife, I would have had him take off. I would have him sit in the vehicle and take off his boots. That is what I would have done. But again, I didn't even work in a jail, Drew. I worked in state prison. Like
I know.
we shake until we find something. You know what I mean?
It's the same concept. It's if you work in a corrections environment or in a confinement environment, you're going to be more you're going to be more astute and more aware, because out on the street the concealment is not as how do we say, crafty as it would be.
Yeah, they're trying harder to conceal in prison. That's true. And but the difference between jail and prison, Drew, would be that when you're searching people in jail, they often still have constitutional rights because they're pre-adjudication. My guys, they were done. No more rights. They only had number 8 left. That's the only one they had left, and I shook them. So whenever I see this, I don't know. It doesn't really matter at all. I'm just offering color commentary, hopefully for humor and information's sake. But I would always pat down people pretty hard.
A gunshot wound to the sternum, a gunshot wound to the 2 gunshot wounds in the leg.
Okay. Guns right inside the back door, but I don't know if they want to get a search warrant. Yep.
All right, that was the sergeant that just walked up. She's like, look, she's got a gunshot wound to the sternum, one to the shoulder, one to each leg. And
she's done for, yeah.
Yeah, and he rightfully says, he said the gun's right on the inside of the door. I didn't go in there and get it though, because there's no reason to. This is what the slowdown that I always talk about. Like, okay, slow down. Everyone just slow down for a second. There's no immediacy. We need to, EMS is working on the patient. They're going to get the patient out of there. So let's deal with that first. But you have the guy who did the shooting detained, and there's no time, there's no rush to do anything else. Just slow down, take a deep breath, make sure you do everything correctly.
It's stable, yeah. It's not changing anymore. The situation's stable.
Yeah, it's stable, right?
Yeah.
For me, the neighbor said she heard 2 bangs. She knows Bill, but she doesn't know anybody else. So is this Bill?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll get a statement from her.
Okay. They're all in the back here.
What's your name? Look straight at me. Money for what?
Robbie, you got a second medic for him? Okay.
So we need to take them off?
No, we're good. I mean, if anything, we'd take the road off if media starts showing up. But we probably need to close the road, really.
Probably gonna land in the field?
Yeah, I was using everybody's.
So among the things discussed are like, is there a good landing zone out here? Is there somewhere, you know, when you're in a rural setting, but even in a city setting, we've run into this quite a bit. Like, man, she's bad off right now. We got to get her to the hospital, and you're not going to drive her there quick enough. Someone's going to have to fly out here and get her. And they're in the heartland. I mean, basically but they know that, like, well, that field over there has just been tilled. That one over there has a bunch of corn in it. So like they can't land there. You actually have to come up with a good landing zone and try to figure out where. And are you going to block off an entire road for that? Are you going to block off a street? Do they need to land right in the street? You know, these are
a lot of times what they'll do, Drew, is a fire department will take command and they'll have a de facto landing zone for an area. You know what? Normally an emergency response zone that a given fire department responds to is fairly small, and they could take by ambulance a patient to a church or a softball field or something like that. That's usually like a predetermined place if they're close enough. Yeah, if it's bad enough, then yeah, they'll set down the helicopter right there at the intersection if they have to. But you know, by the time it took, as long as it took the cop to get there and the ambulance was already there, it could also be a throw and go situation at ALS, depending on just how close that hospital is. But, you know, a fire department will often have a preset place. Go ahead.
The big consideration is wires. So like the helicopter's natural enemy is wiring, like above ground wiring. A lot of electricity talk today.
So he's saying that somebody called him and told him that
Sounds like a scam.
it is a scam, that he's got $12,000 in cash in there.
Yeah.
And then, yeah.
It's the same play that they've been using on everybody.
Yeah.
It's always elderly people.
Yeah. I think it's pictures of his face.
I'm going to run that tag and see who that comes back to.
Go ahead.
Sergeant's asking where she was shot. Was it just like outside the door?
She was laying right here by that car, so I'm not sure. I haven't went up there. I was just waiting on him to get a search warrant. He's probably going to have to go to the hospital, so they'll imagine they'll want someone to ride with him. His ear's pretty nasty.
He's in custody at this point.
Yeah.
Definitely in custody, and then there's definitely more to talk about in this case, but we're already at an hour. So let's we'll cut it right here at the 12-minute 13-minute mark. We'll talk about the rest in the next episode. And there's because there's a whole mess of other stuff to talk about, like what this guy was charged with. They actually made contact with the person that was doing the scam. A lot more to talk about, but you are definitely under the rule of sequestration. You don't want to be held in contempt of Comm Center, so please don't go searching for what happened. Let us tell you the rest of the story. Go ahead, John.
You know what's cool, Drew, is we could still maybe find even a clip of that video that we were missing from the dash cam. Maybe we could throw up some of that just because it paints a broader picture of the final, unfortunately, deadly encounter.
Yeah, I left it out almost intentionally because it doesn't serve the purpose that I thought that it would. And you basically hear her begging for help, and then you hear gunshots. And I think that YouTube's probably going to take issue with the gunshots anyway. So
YouTube may hate it, but a jury is going to be what's looking at that video, and it's going to completely inform their opinion of his state of mind and whether or not he's guilty of whatever.
Point. Yeah, I what he was saying and such. Yeah, okay, we can dig that up for sure.
Should I play some voicemails, Drew?
Go for it.
I wish I had this keyed up. If I was better at it, I would. And also, I remember trying to remember the last one that we received for sure. I think it was this one. So if I'm replaying a repeat, then it's just our greatest hits.
It's a
hey guys, Abby here. I wanted to say that I thought last week's episode, the breakdown of the Sonia Massey case was extremely well done. It was a riveting 2 hours, and I learned a great deal. I was glad to see the entire incident from top to bottom. What I will say is I still don't know what my key takeaway is. People ask me about it, and I honestly don't know what to say in terms of the legality. There was so much that was disdainful, but was it, in the end, was it legal? I would love to know your key takeaways after doing that extensive breakdown. I'd also be interested in your thoughts on this officer's not being allowed out on bail to get treatment for colon cancer, and the fact the sheriff has now decided to step down. So I look forward to another great episode tonight, and thanks for what you do.
We did. Truth be told, I did a podcast with Daniel Carr and Abby. She asked the same question, so that'll be released soon. It may be released even today, but just so everyone knows where I stand on it, Daniel and I kind of disagreed on it. However, he could easily sway me in one direction or another. He's saying that it was not objectively reasonable, that that he should not have done that over boiling water because of the fact that a reasonable officer would have created distance or the other factors. I'm citing Andrew Branca, who is a very prominent self-defense attorney, who says, as much as you don't like that, that is self-defense. That's exactly what self-defense is for. And it was likely to cause death or great bodily harm. Therefore, it was a legal shooting. But I still maintain, I will always maintain, just because you can use deadly force doesn't mean you should. And in this case, me personally, I'm telling you, I would have taken other risks other than how he handled it. In other words, I probably would have bum rushed her, or I would have, and I may have taken a burn, and that's probably not a good idea. And I don't know that I would teach that as a defensive tactics maneuver. I think that's just how I would have handled it. And then what was her part B of that question, John? What was her other?
You want to know what you thought of the sheriff stepping down, which I think is a good question.
Yeah,
my answer to that is these days, does it really pay to be a sheriff?
Yeah,
I mean, for fuck's sakes, you get all the worst worlds of being a cop and an elected official. I think, and most sheriffs are usually in a position where they can retire. If it were me, I'd just get the hell out of there, just because why put up with it? But that's just me. Drew, what do you think?
I don't think I don't think the incompetence or the mistake trickles up. I really don't. I think that we covered the we covered the personnel file. We covered the hiring decision. We covered the reasons why. And it's not, I really don't think it's what everybody's making it out to be. I think in hindsight it is. And that's when it's all going to come out in hindsight. So why are you going to make this guy, if this guy, this is just like the situation in Louisville. I'm trying to remember his name, Steve Conrad. So Steve Conrad was the chief in Louisville, and he was making progress. He was at least, I don't know if he was popular with all of the officers, but at least he was, no chief is going to be popular with all the officers, and no chief is going to be popular with all the citizens. But when Breonna Taylor happened, they started calling for his ouster. They wanted him to be fired, and he was. So now all of the bridges you've built and all the continuity that you have over the past couple of years, they're burnt. They're down the drain. You're going to start from scratch with somebody new who may or may not be familiar with the situation, or is just going to come in and tell the people what they want to hear as opposed to what they need to hear. This is the typical cancel culture that we despise, that we all participated in for some reason. Like,
I also think it's a grass is greener fallacy. When you're in a bad situation, you have this weird idea that like anything else is going to automatically be better. With a new sheriff, a new administration, you're just going to have a new and different and often unexpected set of problems. I appeal to the devil, at least with the guy that the guy that you've elected, the guy that you've had around for a while, the guy that you know how to deal with. I always think that's better.
I like that the sheriff at least stuck around to answer. Look, you're asking me to defend this. I'm going to defend it. I'm not going to, I'm not just going to sit and cower and quit. Like, we did what we were supposed to do to hire this guy. And now, you say it's a bad hire. I disagree. We hired him. So
Well, didn't you say? I mean, you talked about the whole independent review board in Illinois. There, I mean, there's a what you might also call a circuit breaker for liability when it comes to a bad hire, because you could say, well, this board also approved it, so are you going to sue this board that signed off on it? I mean, at least that sort of thing helps when it comes to a liability of a situation like that. But in some ways, it's all chicken shit. There's a lot of people who are out for blood, people that want their vengeance in the form of money, and there's always deep pockets, whether it's the county, the state, or whatever. And so you get a situation like this, Sonia Massey, or anything. If it's the history and politics of rural Southwest Texas, for example, there's always going to be blood money lying around, and people are going to do whatever they have to do to go after it. And we all know that in law enforcement, and we know that any critical incident lies the potential for extensive lawsuits and who's going to get the blame. And most of our job, unfortunately, isn't even about patient care. It's not about, it oftentimes isn't about enforcing law. It's about deferring and defraying and mitigating liability for ourselves as professionals, as an agency, which is terrible.
Yep, I agree.
More voicemails.
John and Drew, it's your favorites. Jill Billy 007.
Oh, it's Keith.
And J Keith 21.
Hi, guys.
Just want to say we love you. We miss you. And as always, John, I tell you every day, I love you.
Keep up the good work. Bye.
I love you guys too. Thank you for calling me at beer o'clock. I appreciate it. Here's another one.
Hi, this is Brian from Colorado. And I was just wondering, in the Sonia Massey case, could the hesitancy to administer medical aid be due to experience with combat medical situations and having to do combat triage, rather than thinking about being in a city situation with a plethora of medical supplies on the way? So just wondering about the mentalities and how the brain works in the middle of a traumatic situation. So anyhow, thanks for all the information. Bye.
Brian,
great voicemail. I love real voicemails, so thank you.
Yeah, that was a brilliant observation. That's actually a very, very good question. Like, was he trained in self-aid and buddy care by virtue of his training in the Army, to just recognize, like, it's a casualty of war, like it's an enemy and they're going to die. So there's no real need. And then on top of that, like, I guess a combat medic is going to come in and just do everything. But where he's thinking, no, there's a whole, basically a hospital on wheels that's about to roll up here. But she's too far gone anyway. I think that's a brilliant observation he made. Brian did. And I hadn't really thought about that until now. But I still think that no matter what, you have the obligation to save someone, like to attempt to save someone. And wait, you just have to be very careful about what you say. But the fact that he was even thinking, well, I'm not even going to waste my med kit. So he's not only thinking that, he actually communicated it. It just lends to the callousness of that. And that's what people think that we are, meaning that law enforcement is, that we're just like callous robots, that we don't really care about humanity. We'll just, pluck somebody in the eye with the lead, musket ball, and sit and watch them perish. And that's exactly what that guy did. It's not necessarily what we all are, though. It's not what we all represent. But that's, Brian, thank you for that phone call. That was an excellent voicemail.
It was something we did mention briefly. I said during the show, I guess his MOS wasn't, being a medic, and you mentioned that he was a mechanic.
Yeah.
Either way, I think that's still a good observation, Brian, because the guy's a soldier. He sees a headshot. He sees that, that this is, like Drew said, killed in action, essentially. We'll never really know what was in his mind, because I think they trained police officers pretty hard to immediately render aid. We mentioned that case in Sparks, Nevada during that episode, and of course we covered that Sparks, Nevada, but an officer involved shooting, they immediately go to work. And it's a police officer should know it's always in his interest. He's got an officer involved shooting. If this person doesn't die, it's going to clear off a lot of those potential charges down the road, meaning all of the manslaughter and all of the murder ones. Those are all going to get taken off the table if the person doesn't die. So some poor training there, perhaps. It's interesting. We're talking about whether or not Sean Grayson should have been hired, but what does the training look like in Sangamon County? Was Grayson a typical case, or was he the exception? I guess is a question that I would have. I've got some more, Drew, if you want even more.
Yeah, go for it. I guess just one last observation, that what he exhibited is Fortnite behavior. It's not law enforcement behavior. That's my opinion. That's my.
I'm playing Mario 3 still, so I have no idea.
Hey, John and Drew, this is Jim from Florida calling. A little bit of feedback on the officer-involved shooting with the pot of boiling water. I think it was Drew brought up a good point. They were concerned about the boiling water. Why didn't one of the deputies go in the kitchen and turn off the stove and take the pot off and kind of secure that until they were ready? You did change my mind on it regarding the one deputy's job history. I didn't take into account that he could have been an auxiliary, reserve, or in some of those Midwest states and Northeastern states, they have a lot of part-timers. So they jump from job to job, which is not out of the ordinary. Getting back, no, that's about it. I'll save it for another day. Keep up the good work, fellas. Appreciate it.
We did get 2 more voicemails from Jim that we will save for another day, just because we've handled those. Guys, you see how much nicer the show is when we have voicemails, like thoughtful, like inquisitive voicemails? This is exactly what we're looking for. So I'll be reaching out to you guys and seeing if you're interested in supplying me with your mailing address, and I'll send you guys some swag, just because we appreciate you guys as always. Drew, I maintain that shooting someone over boiling water is never justified unless there's some sort of spicy ramen in there. In which case she would have known what she was getting herself into. The thing is that, the encounter was always coming, in my view, because she kept dialing 911. The encounter that was coming didn't have to be as stupid or as deadly as it ended up being. But yeah, I feel like it was self-defense, and I just go off of my own experience, which isn't, objective or anything. It's entirely subjective. But I've seen a guy get boiled alive in prison. I've seen hot water thrown directly in his face, which, there is a reactionary gap here in the situation in Sangamon County, so it would have been slightly different. But I have seen that. No, I have seen someone covered in blisters after being boiled. Now, Jim makes a great point. What I would have done if I was worried about it at all, and she was on the couch over here to my left, so I'm the officer that's wanting to render aid. She's over here on my left. I'm going to say, I've noticed some danger in here. My situational awareness my spider sense is going off. This is hot. I'm just going to fucking turn it off and dump the water down the sink. She can sue me over that, I guess, if she wants, but she's not going to get super tea as fast as she thinks. I'm not sure why they left it to her to mitigate the danger, when the danger, hot water and the burner by itself don't really pose a danger to them. It's only if she gets involved. The guy mentioned we don't want to fire or anything. Well, it's like, well, let's step over there and turn it off right away then. Pour the water down the sink right away.
I think the alarm, though, came at the right time in that. I don't think that he was I don't think he was afraid of boiling water in and of itself. I think the minute she said, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus," with the pot of boiling water, the stakes change a little bit. And
they were laughing until that point.
Yeah. And then there was a subsequent video. I don't know if it was just released subsequently, or if the incident happened subsequently, but it's body cam of an officer getting kicked over and over and over again by a woman who is yelling, "I rebuke you in the name of Jesus. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus." So I still maintain that you've got mental health issues and there are religious people in this world, but when the two cross, they sometimes take direction that, I've got to kill this asp. You know what I mean? Or
I'm not convinced that she was even a zealot, though, because If you listen to her 911 calls, the way that she
I get it.
comported herself earlier in the day, you know,
Yeah, I understand.
I'm
She's
not sure that she would.
definitely-
I'm not sure that anybody called down from between two clouds and told her to burn this cop. That's all I'm saying about that.
Yeah, I agree. But we've got to look at it from his perspective.
Yeah.
I mean, for court purposes, it's got to be looked at from his perspective. It's not necessarily what I would have done as a reasonable officer, but we'll see what the trial.
For the rest of his life, though, he's always going to look back to that moment where he goes like, "Let's go 10-8," where they were just about out of here, and then they still went inside and engaged with her, and then they're like just verifying that, you know, they didn't cause this damage or whatever, didn't have to be this way, and just frustrating that they couldn't get the heck out of there right on time and get back in their cars and go back to their lives. You know, they would have been dealing with her probably the next night.
I don't know what it looks like on John's end, but it is frozen in
happens.
time right now on my end. Poor John was probably just overcome by some boiling water. God rest his soul. I'm just going to have to bid you fond adieu. We have done all that we can do for this episode. There will be a continuation of this episode coming up very shortly, probably next week. So, are you back?
Yeah, I guess. You know, I just I left for a minute to wax poetic about what it means to whatever it is we were talking about.
I don't. Hopefully that comes out in the recording so you can see what I saw.
Oh no, I'll fix it. I'll fix it so the audio sounds great, where it's all just me, not you talking. Okay. But on in the video, it'll just be all you. So we'll kind of win at a draw that way.
Yeah, you could just here. I'll just do this. Watch.
Entertainment, folks. That's what you get for being a member. You get to see these raw, authentic moments that those non-paying chumps never get to see. So I hope it was worth it for you guys. We'll catch you here next week.
Yeah,
Bronco Nagurski.
Oh man, I mean Dick Butkus is too.
Richie Incognito.
Ray Nitschke. Did you use Ray Nitschke already?
No, I never used Ray Nitschke. Dick Butkus is a good one. Bronco Nagurski.
Oh man. Garo Upremian.
Debrickashaw Ferguson.
You've used that before. I know you have.
Have I used Debrickashaw?
Yeah. Name one Denver Bronco that became a senator.
Oh.
Well, not Steve Largent, but someone else.
I thought Largent played for the Seahawks.
He did. He was a Seahawk. All right.
Show's over.